Welcome to my tutorial for Cyber Commando. This is basically the sequel to Cyber Sled for the arcade. This one never got a home port. Unfortunately, it seems like a very good game. Unfortunately, I had to play with very badly mapped controls, so my right analog stick was constantly veering to the right side the entire time I had to fight it. What I'm doing here is I'm pausing the game to look at the stats of each ship, because I'm playing on MAME. And I'm just checking to see what the stats are. But I did end up going with the green vehicle, because the green one I saw in a video, it seemed to have pretty good homing capabilities with its missiles, the Wild Bear. So I'm going to recommend using that, and I'm going to be using strategies based around that vehicle. So yeah, the way I set this in MAME, I was using a PS2 controller with dual analog sticks to control the vehicle, but something about the Z-axis on the right analog stick, I didn't know exactly how to configure that. I tried to look it up, but I just couldn't get it right. So either there's a fault with this game on emulation, or I just couldn't map it right. So it veers off to the right the entire time, and I have to fight against it. Makes the game a lot harder. But I did grind through it. It took me about 2 hours and 5 minutes. I think I would have beat it a lot sooner if I wasn't wrestling with the controls the entire time. Kind of like driving a car that, steers to the right the entire time, basically. But now, you're trying to shoot shit as well, so it does make things harder to get your aim centered while you're fighting the controls. But I did grind through it. But I think this version is a little glitchy. This was the only version on MAME, and my MAME is from 2017. It's the 2017 version of MAME, and it was the only ROM available for this game. So I don't know if there is any updates to this since 2017, if there's new ROMs or if the new MAME runs it better. That I can't say, but so my tutorial is just for this version. So there may be some changes. Like, see, the enemies sometimes dance around in place and let you kill them. I don't know if that was a normal thing for the original version. It can be a little glitchy, it seems. And of course, having the controls fucked up didn't help. But I do have some strategies for some very tough bosses near the end that can be very hard. There were a few that gave me a lot of trouble. I spent most of that time on the last, on the third to last boss. But the last three bosses all can be very hard. This is pretty damn easy. I mean, at least on this version. I'm fighting another Wild Bear, but it's all very easy. I mean, you get your life replenished after you kill each one of them. And I think it lets you continue on the last enemy you made it to, if you use a continue. You have unlimited continues. This game does seem a little bit better than Cyber Sled. It's a little bit more complex, a little bit more detailed, but very similar. I did a speedrun of Cyber Sled, a casual speedrun on the PlayStation version, which I have up on the channel. I did a tutorial on that speedrun. Very short video, about 6 minutes. But, yeah, for the most part, I'm going to be using these homing missiles, which the homing missiles that this character has, they really have a strong homing capability. It seems they can even home in around walls pretty damn good, which I end up using on the later bosses. But initially, I'm just collecting the missiles as I run out, replenishing them, and just shooting everything pretty directly, because it's very easy initially. You don't have to use much strategy. Just use your missiles and just get aggressive, and you'll beat most of the shit. I barely did any kind of hiding or anything in the beginning. What's irritating is I didn't see any counter that showed how many missiles you had left at any given time, so I never knew when I was on my last missile until it says out of missiles. But it's kind of irritating when you're in the middle of a fight and you find out you're out of missiles. So I would just grab them periodically to try to keep the missiles filled up. It doesn't seem like you can go around the arenas and collect a bunch of missiles and stock up on them. I couldn't stockpile missiles, it didn't seem. Of course, I didn't have a number to look at, but I always ran out of missiles even when I tried to collect many power-ups in a row. Also, if you shoot the missile power-up, it gets some kind of lightning around it. It becomes a different type of missile power-up, but I don't know what the difference is. I couldn't notice any difference in damage or anything. So I have really nothing to add about that. But for this last part, I was able to machine gun this guy to death because he wouldn't shoot me anymore, and he just danced in front of my vehicle. So I just gunned him down. And I was able to do that several times when I played through this, because I started the game over because one of my save states wasn't supported on the emulator, so it crashed. So I had to start the game over. So I started over as this character. So this boss may be tough, but in this version of the game, it's extremely easy. It doesn't even attack you. So once you find it, you can just unleash all your ammo on it. One of your fire buttons is the machine gun, and the machine gun does run out. It doesn't regenerate on this vehicle. There's another vehicle that has a laser that I believe regenerates over time, but this machine gun doesn't regenerate. So once it runs out, it's pretty much gone. You may be able to get some more from power-ups, but it's that meter that's running down. So I use that up on the Metal Serpent, and then I was out of missiles, so I just go back, get some more missiles, and finish it off. It's not a threat at all. I don't think it can attack you at all. I think it's glitched. It doesn't seem to run, well on this emulator. The next boss is very hard and very cheap. Basically, when you're in sight of this boss, it'll just wipe you out. So you have to be really cheap, and what you're going to have to do is fire your homing missile around the walls. That's what I ended up doing to take it out, and it's a pain in the ass. This took me a while. But eventually you'll get a good feel for where the boss is based on the arrows that show up on screen indicating where the boss is. You're going to use that to kind of estimate where the boss is, and you're using the radar that shows him as the big green blip on the map. That'll give you an idea of his positioning. Your positioning is the center of the radar, so when you see the boss off to the center a bit, it means that he's maybe right around the corner. So you'll get a feel for that. But you want to use the arrows, and you're going to just try to hope that your missiles grab on and home into him, because the homing is very odd in this game with this weapon. Occasionally the missiles will lock on, but you don't have an indication of when they're locked on. So you're just going to try to fire around the walls by angling around the walls a little bit and hoping that the missiles just grab on and hit it. You don't even want to try to see the boss. You want to try to shoot him around the corner without even seeing him, because when you see him, that means that he's going to be, blasting the shit out of you immediately. So I was just going for the hopes that the missile would home in around the walls, and eventually I was able to take him out by having, by getting a better awareness of where he was based on the radar and the arrows. So that's the way I recommend fighting him, is mainly using the radar and arrows and not really trying to see him directly. Try to stay, as far away from him as possible, but not too far. You want to be right around the wall so you can use that homing missile. And if you get it just right, the homing missile will home in on him around the walls. But you're going to have to experiment with that and try firing around the walls. If you fire a missile and it's not going around and homing on him and damaging him, because you can see his health bar, then you want to adjust your trajectory a little bit differently, a little bit closer to him to try to get it to home in and lock on. But like I said, there's no real indication when it's locked on. So see, I'm doing it here again. Same kind of strategy. This one I found to be easier to do than the previous boss. But he does do massive damage still, so. But I found it a little easier to get him, to start getting him in that lock pattern. But I mean, I got lucky here because he was getting kind of glitched out, and I was able to finish him off. So if you get him kind of stuck like that, you can finish him off by collecting some ammo and just finish him off. But it was very close here. I think he kind of glitched out, so I was able to finish him off. But it's the same kind of strategy. Normally I wouldn't use the machine gun on this guy at all, but he wasn't responding or shooting. So now this thing can be very hard. This is the final boss. This can be very, very difficult. But it seems to take massive damage from your hits. What I do for this part, as soon as this battle starts, I back up as far as I can. Immediately. I noticed that was the only way I could get in a position to deal with this guy. Otherwise he would beat the shit out of me and destroy me almost immediately. So I back up immediately. And I try to get around a wall. That's what you see me doing here, is just backing away and getting the fuck out of there. And I was able to get that homing angle on him and do a lot of damage by, getting an initial missile on him. And I kind of continue that pattern, trying to shoot him around the walls as we've been doing with the other enemies. This guy's a lot more aggressive and faster. He does seem to take more damage from your shots, but he can kill you very quickly. So here I just barely survived, but I was able to get another angle on this guy. See, like that? And that allowed me to finish him off. So that's what you're going to try to do, is back up from that guy immediately and just try to angle your homing shots around the walls. But it's a pain in the ass because you're going to have to collect ammo and put yourself in, bad positions by collecting more ammo. Sometimes what you'll be able to do is collect more ammo and then go back to the same exact wall if there's an ammo pickup close and continue landing those homing shots on one of the bosses. Without, because whenever you move around, the boss is going to change his position most likely to try to follow you. So you don't want to move too much when you have that angle around the wall and you kind of got the boss stuck and you can fire homing shots in him while he's stuck around that wall. That's the basic strategy for the final 3 bosses. But it may take a lot of trial and error to finally pull it off, but that's what I ended up doing. So you should be able to get it to work, if you're persistent with that. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any questions.